the concept and definition of semantics. Here, dear students, we will read about the concept of semantics. Semantics, as you already know, studies words, phrases, and sentences. The focus here lies on the conventional rather than the speaker's intention. It makes the whole discipline objective and general, avoiding subjective and general outlook. In linguistics, we cover the conventional meaning range. It is this field of linguistics that where we are primarily concerned with the conventional meaning of sentences. Language and linguistics are both the types of fields which introduce us to different fields. Both are the forces which encircle us, and when we travel with them, we see utterances right from the we see utterances, we judge utterances, we are introduced to utterances right from the point of view of sounds, which is phonetics, pattern, phonology, combination of words, morphology, order of words, syntax, and meaning, semantics. On one factor, if found missing, can create a gap which hinders in the communication process, where encoding starts from the speaker and when it reaches the listener, then it must be decoded. Decoding takes place if the sense and meaning of the utterance is clear and explicit. So we can say that in the process of communication, thoughts and ideas and feelings are converted and decoded, as is clear from this model by Leach. Here we see that at the beginning, encoding process starts from the speaker and decoding process ends with the listener. In between, we have phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. Here, if one thing is missing, if one process is missing, we cannot communicate. So for successful communication, for successful expression of thoughts, we must know that thoughts are converted and decoded, as is shown below. Decoded using meaningful utterances. The thoughts can be decoded only if the utterances are meaningful. Meaningful utterances are a series of sounds or alphabets. Only a series of sounds are not enough if the sense is missing. It is the grammar which helps us in decoding signs and signals into meaningful expression. Grammar plays an important role. The expressions, the utterances must be grammatically correct, grammatically acceptable. Without grammar, a certain kind of speech or written text will be just a series of sounds or alphabets, just a series of sounds. A series of sounds cannot give me a sense unless and until if we cannot attach meaning with them, if we cannot make them grammatical. So here you can see that here is a model. Semantic is written at the right side, phonetics is at the left side, and grammar. These three important words, these three important fields are there as a backbone in the communication process. Grammar is central in this model. You can see grammar is central, while semantics decodes syntactic output. Syntactic output means the words that are put into order, the words that are chained together according to certain acceptable grammatical structure. And phonetics and phonology decodes the series of sounds into functional sounds. As you have already read in the previous semester, that in phonetics and phonology, we work on certain mechanism according to which you make the sounds functional sounds. All the sounds that birds produce, all the sounds that animals produce, all the sounds that many other species produce are sounds, no doubt, but those are not functional sounds. Only human beings can create functional sounds. The chain works in Coordination. The chain works in coordination. Meaning provides the sense, while grammar provides the message, and phonetics will convert the whole symbols into functional shape. We can represent the information in the following diagram. You can see this. This was the diagram given by Leach. Then the next, scope of semantics. Semantics, if we view history, if we see history, if we go into historical perspective, semantic has been viewed in different ways throughout history. During the early days, it took help from science for the clarification of semantic concepts. Different authors and different scholars took help from science, but it was not enough. Why it was not enough? Because meaning should be studied as a linguistic phenomena in its own right, not something outside language. Meaning should not be considered as outside language. Meaning has a close relationship with language. The main concern here should be the recognition of sentences as meaningful and as meaningless both, because knowledge of the language is different from the knowledge of the world, and these two must be distinguished. Knowledge of the language is different. Knowledge of the language has a different dimension. Knowledge of the language has a different nature. So it must be kept apart. So semantics was not considered as such during the early days. Linguistic semantic thus interprets units of language such as morpheme, words, phrases, and sentences. It is the meaning that distinguishes one linguistic unit from another. Meaning brings distinction, meaning brings change, meaning cannot be studied as a part of other disciplines. It must be given a separate entity, a separate kind of importance. Here we have different approaches to semantics. For example, some view it as interpretive semantics, study the structure of language independent of their use. Interpretive means studying structure of language as independent of their use. Then we have generative semantics. Generative semantics focuses on the function and use of utterances. Function and use of utterances. This is also an important aspect. And the third one is conceptual semantics. Conceptual semantics deals with the theories of semantics and investigates how concepts and meaning are related. So all these three important fees must be kept in mind while dealing with semantics. We have another point of view during which we can study the history of semantics. Throughout Antiquity means the old times, and then the Middle Ages, and until 19th century, semantic was based on philosophical speculations. Philosophical speculations means it was based on rough thinking and logic, and both left a strong impact on the study of linguistic meaning. Though this was an approach that was the demand of the time, but during the 19th century, semantics came into being as an important branch of linguistics. Before that, semantics was there, but it was not considered to be a branch of linguistics. But only during the 19th century, it was considered to be a part of linguistics after the publication of Essay de Semantique by M. Brill, marked the beginning of modern semantics. So semantics is the youngest branch of linguistics, the study of which was enhanced by the writing dictionaries and through the modern approaches of polysemy, synonym, homonym, and antonym. So semantics has a wide spectrum now. It was very limited during the early days. Here we have the contribution. We have a list of scholars, we have a list of linguists, and we have a list of writers who have contributed in the development of semantics. Ferdinand de Saussure. You already heard the name of Ferdinand de Saussure. He is a big name. He is a great linguist, he gave the idea of sign, signifier, and signified, and signifier and signified. He determined an interest in the field of semantics. Then he gave it a new shape. He just because of his contribution, an interest and took place in the field of semantics. George Trier gave the idea of semantics field that words are not to be approached in isolation. Words are not isolated entities, but as a larger ensembles within which we we can integrate them, we can study them within the entire lexicon. A lexicon, as you already read in the third semester, is a kind of mental dictionary. So within a whole range of lexicon, we have semantic fields, and words are different words have their association with different semantic fields. Then we have Gustav Stem examined the compound factors of meaning and determined the causes and direction of change of meaning. Another another approach that was adopted by Richard is in his book Problem of Meaning in Primitive Languages. Here we have the concept that he developed a new contextual meaning, theory of meaning, and theory of meaning without which language description is incomplete, which led to more advanced metaphorical basis of meaning. And this metaphorical basis of meaning was further developed by Lakoff and Johnson in 1980. You can see that meaning and conceptual meaning, associative meaning, and individual meaning, and restricted meaning, objective meaning, and general meaning, all these have been studied differently